It's a big IPL story that we are breaking here on Headlines today. A big controversy has hit the IPL, a controversy involving cricketing czar N.Srinivasan, his company India Cements and the Chennai Super Kings. It's a Headlines Today exclusive. The controversy revolves around the valuation of the team Chennai Super Kings, a team which has won the IPL twice, was a runners-up thrice, boasts of stars like Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Ravindra Jadeja, Brendan McCullum and Michael Hussey. This team has been valued by its owners at just 5 lakh rupees. Yes, you heard it right, 5 lakh rupees. Absurd as it may sound, that's the amount the team was sold by India Cements to a subsidiary in February this year. Now that was exclusive number one. The exclusive number two is the fact that IPL Governing Council has refused to accept this valuation. The latest IPL Governing Council, the new IPL Governing Council has refused to accept this particular valuation and has not ratified the sale of the CSK. Now, according to the rules, BCCI rules state that 5% of the team sale price must be given to the board, and this valuation would mean the board earns just 25,000 rupees from the CSK team sale. Shockingly, the old council did not question the absurd price. It was only after the new IPL council took charge under Supreme Court directions that the issue was red flagged in a meeting 2 days ago on Monday. Headlines Today has the minutes of that old council meeting to prove how everyone towed a certain line. The owner's valuation comes even as a US-based company, a consultancy firm, valued the team over 450 crore rupees last year. Boria, 450 crores last year, 5 lakhs this year. Absurdity staring us in the face.
Absolutely, Sanket, and most importantly, this meeting was held on the 27th of February, 2 days before the BCCI elections and the general body meeting on 1st and 2nd of March. Tell me something, why wasn't this disclosed on the 1st and 2nd of March? You know, ultimately the BCCI general body needs to know about this, isn't it? I mean, is there a sinister clandestine motive that is there? I mean, we are not imputing any motive to anybody, but tell me very simple, such a sale or such a transfer is approved and yet it is not placed before the BCCI general body, which is meeting on the 1st and 2nd of March. Why does such a thing happen? Anirudh Chaudhary, treasurer of the board, then treasurer of the board now, how does he allow it to go through? Ranjiv Biswal, IPL Governing Council chairman at that point in time. Why is it that Ranjiv allows this to happen? Chetan Desai, now holding the marketing committee chairman's position of the board. He was a member of the IPL GC. Question for him, sir. Did you know that this is the figure that was, allowed for transfer of Chennai Super Kings and the BCCI stands to get 25,000 rupees? If you knew, how did you permit this to happen? You know, there are several questions that can be asked, Sanket. Most importantly, this Sunday the BCCI working committee is meeting in Calcutta. Will it take this matter up? Will members rake this matter up and say an investigation is needed, we need to go deeper, or will they allow this to pass? Because if they allow this to pass, it will be very, very unfortunate for Indian cricket.
Absolutely. Very, very unfortunate for Indian cricket if they allow it to pass. But Boria, the way the latest governing council has decided not to ratify, perhaps is a sense that this governing council is not going to accept the absurdity that actually was presented in front of them. Let me quickly go across to Rasesh Mandani, who joins us from Mumbai for more on this. Rasesh, fill us in with more details as to what are you hearing from your sources. What is the BCCI in general and the IPL Governing Council in particular going to do about this case? And my follow-up question to you is going to be about the fact that these members who were actually present, what exactly will be their reaction? Have we heard from any one of them? All these people who were present in the 27th February 2015 Governing Council, Ranjiv Biswal, Chetan Desai, Shubir Ganguly, TC Matthew, Amitabh Chaudhary, Arindam Ganguly, Dr. Ganga Raju, CK Khanna, Sanjay Patel, Anirudh Chaudhary and Sundar Raman. According to the minutes, they were present in this particular meeting which actually took this decision. Have we heard from them?
Sanket, the names that you read out is the Governing Council that was held in the month of February. This was pre-AGM. The Governing Council has now changed somewhat. Some of them still remain the same. Some of the members are still part of that council. But let me give you a lowdown of what happened in the meeting that was held this week. That was as early as Tuesday, a few days back, when some of the senior board members raised this issue. The CEO of the IPL, Sundar Raman, brought to the notice of the members the minutes of the previous meeting where this issue issue of the CSK valuation revaluation came up as well, where the final details said that only 5% of 5 lakhs would be provided to the BCCI. That is going to be the 5% of the sale proceeds. This was then objected to by two senior members of the BCCI. Ajay Shirke, who's now very much a part of various committees of the BCCI, a part of the governing council as well, but who's previously been the treasurer of the BCCI, someone who knows his numbers. Jyotiraditya Scindia, a man who's been a union minister in the past, a man who's now heading the finance committee of the BCCI and a senior BCCI official, and he's someone who raised this issue as well. So, one can rest assured that it will be a vocal working committee this Sunday when it meets, and this issue will be a part of the discussion. It may not be a part of the agenda. This issue will come up. Governing council minutes are always ratified by the working committee, and so this issue will come up. So it isn't just an issue that has now come to light in the media. This is something that transpired in the
now,
BCCI governing council.
Rasesh, I'll ask this question to you, and then perhaps to Boria also. I want to know that in this meeting that was held of the governing council this Monday, last Monday, where the new members were alarmed at this particular figure, at the absurdity in this figure. Just take us through what exactly do we know as to what happened in that particular meeting. What happened in that meeting?
Is that for me?
Boria, I'll come across to you. Let me first ask, I'll ask Rasesh this question first,
sure,
and then maybe
sure.
You can add. Yeah.
Sure.
Just go back to the previous governing council, Sanket. I've got the minutes of that meeting with me, and maybe my camera person can show the operative part of the whole story that we are bringing out. It says the CSKCL is agreeable to pay 5% of the sale price for the proposed transfer. This is 5% of 5 lakhs to the BCCI as per clause 10.4 of the franchisee agreement as novated by the novation agreement. Now this franchisee agreement is of course the agreement which is signed on by all the franchisees under which they are part of the BCCI setup, and they valued the CSK to 5% of 5 lakhs, which comes down to 25,000 rupees. The point we are making is that if the valuation of it was done fairly, even in a conservative estimate would tell you that it's 400 crore upwards. CSK is valued 400 crores upwards, in which case the BCCI would end up earning as many as 40 crore rupees to 45 crore rupees to possibly 50 crore rupees. The BCCI isn't getting that. They are merely getting 25,000 of the sale proceeds. This is the valuation that the CSK has done. This is the valuation that was put forth in the governing council meeting previously done. And that's when this issue came up. Now, the board members who raised this issue are making the point about the fact that why is it that the BCCI is not getting a legitimate sum that they are viable to get in a scenario when CSK wants to change its shareholding pattern. CSK wants to convert into a wholly owned subsidiary, but in which case the proceeds that should be given to the BCCI are grossly undervalued. That's what comes to light. And Boria is right in saying that if this issue wasn't taken up at the working committee level before the AGM, that's quite bizarre as well. And why is it that none of the members then raised an issue? It's obviously of the case of BCCI being a silent body at the time. Now of course there's been a change of governance. It's good that some of the members have taken this issue up. Perhaps one hopes that the board meetings will be a lot more vocal now, but this obviously clearly calls from one can look at it for an independent valuation. 5 lakh rupees for Chennai Super Kings is quite bizarre. This isn't even the price that Chennai Super Kings was originally bought for, which was as many as 8 years ago.
Absolutely. Boria, would you want to add? Would you want to add something?
You asked about what happened in that meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. 3 points. If a meeting happens, Sanket, do you not get the minutes in advance? Very simple question to you and to anybody watching this show. If you are a member of a particular committee, will it not be that you will get the minutes in advance so that you get to read them? Wasn't done. The minutes were given to the members of the IPL GC on the floor, and they were told that these are just minutes, please ratify them. That's how it was done. So that's when Ajay Shirke and Jyotiraditya Scindia read the minutes, found out this 5 lakh valuation and said we are not going to sign it. This governing council includes people like Saurav Ganguly, people like Ravi Shastri. These are cricketers of international repute. These people need to stand up. I mean, each of these people have to answer, how is it that Chennai Super Kings can be valued at 5 lakhs? What is Mahendra Singh Dhoni's value? $1.8 million according to the rules. So that is about 11 crore rupees. Suresh Raina, $1.3 million, which is 8-9 crore rupees according to the rules. $9 million spent on teams, which is 54 crore rupees, and you peg your team's value for transfer as 5 lakhs. Now that is absurdity of the highest order. If you and I have 5 lakhs, Sanket, we should go and pitch in a bid for Chennai Super Kings and own Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Absolutely. And if you go by the response that we are getting on Twitter, a lot of people, a lot of viewers who are watching us at this moment, it's exactly this absurdity that they're talking about. That if 5 lakhs is all that it takes, some of them are even willing to pay double to actually own the Chennai Super Kings. Let's quickly go across to Nikhil Chopra, who joins us on the phone line at this moment. Rasesh and Boria, do stay on with us. Nikhil, what do you make of this?
Well, I'm a little surprised, Well, this is the 8th season. Is the valuation, whose mistake or somebody's been hiding facts? I'm a little surprised, It's not the first season, Sanket. This is the 8th season of the IPL. So obviously somebody knew about it and somebody has kept quiet. It'd be interesting to find out what are the valuations for some of the other teams. And I think some of the other franchise owners should also get involved and say that how can you just value CSK at 5 lakhs, and if their valuation is much more, and if they've been paying the BCCI the licensing fees at a much higher value, what we heard in the initial years of $70 million and $80 million.
Absolutely, Nikhil. I mean, it's absurd, just the way you are mentioning. Now, we'll of course go back to Boria as well as Rasesh and come across to you. Nikhil, also, we are also trying for a number of reactions from members of the old governing council. We have Mr. Niranjan Shah joining us now on the phone line. Mr. Shah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Mr. Shah, we would want to know your initial reaction on this Headlines Today exclusive story. We've got minutes of the Governing Council meeting of the 27th of February 2015, which actually says that 5% of the transfer amount, that is 5 lakh rupees, should be paid to the BCCI according to the franchisee agreement. That is 25,000 rupees to the board. Sir, your initial reaction to this particular news?
It is a very ridiculous price quoted by CSK as a value, market value of the whole thing. I think with this price also it decreased the price of IPL also. Such a huge CSK brand and just in 5 lakhs. It is not in our common sense that how can it be happen. And I think the meeting which passed is on 27 and there was on 28 is the general body, and I don't think in general body we have ever discussed this thing.
Okay. Mr. Shah, do stay on with us. We also have Boria Majumdar with us. He would like to ask a few questions to you. Boria, would you like to take a few questions with Mr. Niranjan Shah?
Absolutely. Mr. Shah, you just mentioned that on the 28th of February, there was a general body meeting. Please, can you clarify that this question was raised or not? Were you guys aware that this transfer figure of 5 lakhs?
Our general body was mainly for the election and people were much busy in the election. But I don't think and I don't remember this thing has come up in our general body, because I think as per the procedure of board, this has to be passed in the next GC and then it has to pass in the working committee and then it can go to general body if required. But working committee is the final.
Okay, so that is my next question. Mr. Shah, that is my next question, that this Sunday there is a working committee meeting in Calcutta, and if I understand right, you are one of the special invitees. Will you raise this issue in the working committee in Calcutta this Sunday? Because if I know, you, Chetan Desai, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Rajiv Shukla, all of you will be present in the working committee meeting this Sunday.
Yes, it is automatically will be questioned, and if the present governing council has rejected it, so I think it is very difficult to pass in the working committee such a low valuation.
No sir, that is not the question. The question is, it's not about rejection. Will you take action against people who have done this or not? Because if it was not a new dispensation, it could have been passed. I mean, you cannot say that the working committee will reject it and the matter is closed. Ranjiv Biswal, is he accountable? Anirudh Chaudhary, is he accountable? Sundar Raman, is he accountable? Will there be any investigation launched? Will you guys take action against these people or not?
Yes, we will raise the question in the working committee and then it will be up to working committee to decide what is the next course of action. Yes, it's too early to say anything. Let's wait up to 26.
Sir, final question from my end. We at Headlines Today do not want to impute any motive on anybody. How do you read this? Do you think this was done deliberately? Do you think there is a clandestine motive? How do you assess the whole situation? Because we are just putting out facts for our viewers.
Yeah, I think we have to get into this whole valuation process. It's such a ridiculous valuation be done with such a huge team. I think the board will lose lot of money, and this is not in a good taste for the board. And people will also raise question unnecessarily. Yes, BCCI is already under scrutiny of Supreme Court. I think such things should not happen because it will give a bad publicity to BCCI. So I think there should be a real valuation done by the third party, and then we can...
Now that's an important point that you are mentioning, Mr. Shah. Mr. Shah, that's an important point. You actually advocate that there should be an independent valuation of this particular team before this transfer of ownership actually takes place. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's why if the question is raised on the valuation, why not the third party or totally independent party who should do that? What is wrong?
Till then, should the IPL Governing Council as well as the BCCI put this sale agreement on hold till the time this independent valuation is done?
The recent Governing Council, it has not passed, and question will go to general in the working committee. So it will all come to the working committee.
Absolutely. Mr. Niranjan Shah, thank you very much for joining us right here on Headlines Today. So, Boria, Mr. Niranjan Shah, they are very categorically mentioning that there should be an independent valuation at this moment by an independent agency of Chennai Super Kings. That should then come up for ratification, which will then eventually be taken up by the BCCI. It's correct valuation, not this undervalued valuation. Until then, this entire sale agreement be put on hold.
Sanket, I agree with you there. 2 points here. One, this is what was discussed in the meeting, that Amarchand Mangaldas be appointed to do this independent valuation. Question is, we need to find out from one member of the previous IPL GC that if this is true, that Amarchand Mangaldas was supposed to do it. Did Amarchand Mangaldas do it? Did someone approach them? If someone did not approach them, then how is it that we get the 5 lakh valuation? Because something is not right here. If the previous GC has not approved this valuation, which is what I'm getting from my sources from the previous GC, something sinister is definitely wrong. I mean, Amarchand Mangaldas is a reputed firm. Have they approved it? If not, then how is it that this figure is suddenly placed in front of the new IPL Governing Council? Will Sundar Raman and his teammates please answer this question?
Absolutely. Time for a short break at this moment on First Up, but we'll come back with Rasesh, Boria and many more reactions in just a short moment from now. This is, of course, our big exclusive breaking news story that we are getting right here on Headlines Today. Welcome back. The big breaking news story that we are getting at this moment. Chennai Super Kings has been valued at 5 lakh rupees. Many of our viewers who are in fact now tweeting and responding to this particular story not just find it absurd, but actually laughable. Some of them actually wonder whether they could actually buy an IPL team now, if it is that affordable now. And let's just quickly give you a little backgrounder as to what this story is all about. In January this year, the Supreme Court ruled that the Board of Control for Cricket in India officials had to pick between running a cricket team or running cricket or owning teams. Since then, N.Srinivasan was accused of conflict of interest. The court order prompted the transfer of the CSK ownership. This led to India Cements Board vesting ownership of the CSK to a wholly owned subsidiary in February this year. Accordingly, IPL franchisee CSK was transferred to a subsidiary called Chennai Super Kings Cricket Limited. India Cements Board decided the subsidiary will be owned by existing shareholders on a proportionate basis. 70% India Cements shares are held by public, promoters hold 28%, N.Srinivasan holds 0.14% of those shares. The decision to transfer the shares came after the Supreme Court ruling said BCCI officials owning teams was a conflict of interest. Now this was the background of this entire story. What is really the present? this Monday at the present governing council meeting that was actually held. The documents came for ratification, the fact that there should be a transfer of ownership within the Chennai Super Kings, and the valuation was 5 lakh rupees, which would have meant that if 5% of that amount is actually supposed to be given to the BCCI, then the BCCI will earn just 25,000 rupees from this transfer of ownership, which effectively means that the Chennai Super Kings values itself, the owners of the CSK value themselves at just 5 lakh rupees. Let's quickly listen in to Anurag Thakur, who reacted on this story.
So the CSK shares, the minutes of the meeting last time was not ratified, and it is being said that CSK shares valuation was so low that it was kind of, taking the income away from the BCCI. So what do you have to say on that?
See, looking at the issue, the committee has decided, the IPL Governing Council has decided that the issue will be debated in the next upcoming working committee meeting on 26th.
Boria, you heard Anurag Thakur there, who says that looking at the absurdity, it was decided that they will not go ahead with this. What next as far as this particular story is concerned? What next as far as this controversy is concerned? What are really the options in front of the board in general and the IPL Governing Council in particular?
That's a very significant comment from Anurag Thakur, Sanket, where he says that it will be discussed and debated on the 26th of April in Calcutta. So clearly the BCCI had no mood to now relent. Now that this has snowballed in the media, and if you see social media, it's trending at #1 on Twitter, all India, and people see the absurdity of the whole situation, they have to take action. This is a clear case where the board would have lost income close to 50 to 100 crore rupees. I mean, just think. Pune and Kochi were teams sold for 17 and 1500 and they have not won the IPL. Chennai has won the IPL twice. It's the second biggest brand along with Mumbai Indians according to independent valuations. Now if such a team is valued at 5 lakh rupees, isn't it ridiculous? The BCCI will have to take action on the 26th of April in Calcutta. They will have to, Sundar Raman needs to be questioned. Ranjiv Biswal needs to be questioned. Anirudh Chaudhary needs to be questioned. And subject to real, they have to be made accountable. Because the BCCI cannot take it lying down. Now it's a public body disbursing public functions under Article 226 as mentioned by the Supreme Court. Somebody will raise this in the Supreme Court and there will be further mud thrown at the BCCI, which Anurag Thakur, Jagmohan Dalmia and their team cannot afford. It's a new dispensation and they need to bring credibility back.
Absolutely. The new dispensation has to get the credibility of the IPL back, of cricket back. Remember, Boria, just a year ago when we were discussing what exactly should we call this particular exercise that the Supreme Court has undertaken, the Justice Mukul Mudgal panel has undertaken, you and I decided, Headlines Today here decided that we are going to call it Clean Our Cricket. It's about time that we clean our cricket, and efforts to that regard are actually made. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, this is ultimately about transparency, about accountability. For the last 1 year plus, Sanket, rather 2 years, from 2013, 26th of May, that ridiculous press conference in Calcutta where the BCCI tried to say that, oh, nothing's wrong, everything's hunky-dory, we've been seeing this. It is about restoring fans' faith. Now today, anybody who sees this broadcast and sees the absurdity of the situation, and we are not using the word absurd, the secretary of the board uses the word absurd. Niranjan Shah, senior member, vice chairman of the National Cricket Academy, uses the word ridiculous. These are words being used by senior BCCI functionaries. Question is, how is it that the IPL Governing Council of the previous dispensation allows such a thing to pass, which is being termed ridiculous and absurd by the current board dispensation? And if that is the question, what will happen on Sunday? Mr. Dalmia will be chairing his first working committee after taking over. Anurag Thakur will be attending his first working committee as secretary. The new IPL GC will have to report to the working committee, and if I understand right, Shashank Manohar, Niranjan Shah, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Chetan Desai will all be present in that working committee as special invitees. These are people of impeccable integrity. Ajay Shirke, will they raise this question? Will an independent investigation be launched? Will Sundar Raman be questioned? Will Ranjiv Biswal be questioned? Will something be done? Or, like things in the past, will it once again be hushed up? Because that is the question that we will have to wait till Sunday to see if we get an answer.
Absolutely. And before we end, first up, news and updates, of course, continue on Headlines Today. Boria, do stay on with us. Rasesh, do stay on with us. Time for a short break. But before we head into a break, let's quickly listen in to this statement from Anurag Thakur, what he had to say on this entire IPL controversy. The big breaking news story, Headlines Today exclusive.